Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Welcome. Interim President Brian McCluskey, members of the administration, faculty, staff, students, family, and friends, we're so happy to have you here today. My name is Andra Basu, and I am the Vice President of Academic Affairs and Dean of the Faculty here at the college. As a representative of the remarkable people who constitute the heart of the academic experience here at the college, it's my pleasure to call the 2025 Honors Convocation to order. We welcome you to our celebration as we gather to recognize the academic achievements of our students. Convocations, along with other days at the college, such as commencement, are formal academic events that take time to recognize and celebrate one of the essential purposes of our institution's mission, educational excellence. Students, families, faculty, staff, and all members here today from the CHC community, thank you for affirming this celebration of academic accomplishments with your presence. This afternoon, we'll be introducing multiple faculty members who will each be sharing and celebrating the accomplishments of our students and the honors that they have achieved. As we take time to acknowledge these student honors, we are reminded of the exceptional accomplishment of our students working in collaboration with our faculty. And as the Dean of the Faculty, I also want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude, admiration, and appreciation to the dedicated faculty who are here today who work tirelessly in support of our students. They are what makes Chestnut Hill such a special place, and they are critical to the college's success. I now ask you to please stand for the invocation which will be offered by Anna Ryan Bender, the Director of Campus Ministry.
Let us pray. Gracious God, font and source of inspiration, goodness in all things, we ask your blessing upon our students who we honor today for their achievements, for each unique individual made in your holy likeness, for the joy, friendship, challenge, and support they have offered one another, we give thanks. We celebrate their capacity for creativity, for critical thinking, for focused effort, for countless opportunities to grow and develop, for discovering a new sense of meaning, belonging, and purpose along the way, we give thanks. Thank you for their confidence to discover and explore new possibilities and knowledge to discern what is right and good and just. For the unwavering encouragement of their families, educators, and community, for all who have loved them well and have taught them to love, we give thanks. Enable them to draw upon the wisdom and experience of yesterday as they respond to the questions and concerns of tomorrow. Through their actions, may they always be messengers of unity and reconciliation with and for the broken and wounded, those in need of healing, and those oppressed by all acts of injustice throughout our world. May they be the change makers of your goodness in a place and time so deeply in need of love. Gracious God, support our honored students as they continue to make a difference in the world, leading lives that foster unity in a world rife with division. Guide them as their journeys continue, keeping them energized and persistent in living the mission of Chestnut Hill College. We ask all of this in your holy name. Amen.
Good. So,
good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian McCluskey. I'm the interim president here at the college. It's my honor to be here to do one of the presentations. But before I do, I want to say to the students who are being honored here with honors, that's something to be very, very proud of, very proud. Ironically, I did my doctoral dissertation on honors education, and it's nice to see so many young adults really achieve and aspire to do more and to do better. As a hiring manager in a very competitive labor market, I can tell you it makes a difference. Don't be humble. Put it on your resume, on your application. You are an honors student, because it is a tiebreaker. It's a difference maker. So be proud of yourselves for that, because it's really something. Now, I am delighted to welcome each of you as we honor academic achievement, leadership, and service among our students. I would like to introduce to everyone Dr. David Contasa, Professor of History and Chair of the History Department, who will address all those gathered here today. As Chestnut Hill College winds down our historic centennial year celebration, we take a moment to celebrate Dr. Contasa's 51 years of service at the college. Dr. Contasa has authored some 25 books that include topics of national and international interest, as well as several titles relating to people, places, and issues in the Philadelphia region. Among the latter are Metropolitan Paradise, Philadelphia's Wissahickon Valley, which was co-authored by Carol Franklin, and Suburb in the City, Chestnut Hill, Philadelphia. In 2022, David published a personal memoir entitled An American Childhood, and he's now working on a book about the American presidency, aptly called A Republic If You Can Keep It. It was published this spring. David has produced, written, and/or appeared in several documentary films. Among these are The Other Fellow, which relies heavily on his book, The Private Life of James Bond, On the Wissahickon, adapted from his book, Metropolitan Paradise, and Lancaster, Ohio, Birth of an American Culture. He's presently working on a documentary film with Professor Oyamaguchi, focused on the Wissahickon Valley and heat islands in the city. David has been interviewed on both radio and television and has given many book signings and in-person discussions about his publications. He has lectured at Nanjing University in China and has been a visiting research professor at Cambridge University in England, as well as a Fulbright scholar to France. In 2006, David was the recipient of the Christian R. and Mary F. Lindback Award for Distinguished Teaching. I think we could go on and on about accolades about Dr. David Contasa, but I'll stop here since we're going to allow David to come up and say a few words. Welcome, Dr. Contasa.
Could you put your shirt on? Because it's notes. Thank you, Brian. That was much too generous. It makes things scarier. Please think for just a moment what questions you are likely to ask someone you have met for the first time. More than likely, the first question would be, where are you from? You could probably shout that out without my saying that. If it turns out you're both from the Philadelphia region, the next questions are likely to be, what part of the city or the area? Where did you go to school? And if you suspect the other person is Catholic, you might say, what parish did you grow up in? And if a close friendship is going to develop, there will have to be more questions to cement the relationship, either asked formally or given informally in the course of conversation. Among them, did you have brothers and sisters? What did your parents do for a living? What do you do for a living? Are you married? Do you have any children? What are your religious and political beliefs? And so forth. Unless the persons in question are obviously around your same age, as in the case of college classmates, the question of age will come up. If there's an obvious age difference, it might seem impolite to ask about it. But one will invariably try to guess, since the year of one's birth offers important hints about a person's possible experiences in times past. In fact, getting to know someone is a matter of historical research. And in their own way, psychologists all know that. Which is another way of saying that the past is prologue. And if you know nothing of a person's history, you cannot know that person. That person in many ways will not be real to you. And I don't know most of the people in this room because I don't know their stories, and unfortunately probably never will. That phrase, the past is prologue, also applies to social groups, institutions, whole nations, and yes, to political systems. This is not to say that we are somehow prisoners of the past, but the only way to understand how we arrived at a certain point or in a certain condition is to ask how we got here and what we might do differently in the future if that is the goal. For example, there has been a widespread belief for many years now that the American presidency has become too powerful. And with this power, that there has been an increasing potential for abusing such power. And this is nonpartisan. You could apply this to Democrats as well as Republicans or anybody else who might be in office. There has been a growing, powerfully presidential system for a long time. To understand how this situation came to pass, we need to go back to the Constitutional Convention held here in Philadelphia at what we now call Independence Hall. It was the Pennsylvania State House then. During that beastly hot summer of 1787, in fact, they wanted to get out of here as soon as they could, as well as to look into some salient examples of increasing presidential power and or abuse of that power. I promise not to keep you here for several days or even several weeks or several months, which is what it would take to do real justice to these topics. First, the Constitutional Convention. Contrary to what many might believe today, the delegates to the convention wanted to create a more powerful presidency as a way of putting more energy, their words, they use that phrase again and again, into the national government in order to overcome the weaknesses of government under the preceding Articles of Confederation. And in order to do so, the delegates gave to the president essentially the same powers that had once belonged to the kings and queens of England. And that would shock most people today, but indeed is true. Such as an absolute power of pardon and a veto over legislation, which would be countermanded only by a supermajority of the Congress. Presidents will also have near complete control over foreign affairs. In addition, the president would have the power to make a wide variety of appointments. And the president, like any monarch, would be commander-in-chief of the military and have the responsibility for carrying out or executing the laws. If that doesn't convince you, I don't know what would. Although the delegates to the convention specifically rejected any imitation of the royal prerogative, that is, the monarch could make orders, royal orders, which would allow presidents to issue executive orders. Presidents as early as George Washington had made thousands of such orders, something that the delegates to the Constitutional Convention didn't want them to be able to do. And many of them have been questionable. Unfortunately, I do not have the time here, again, we need weeks and months, to explain how this power to issue presidential orders came to be. Suffice it to say that this power is not specifically authorized in the Constitution. You will not find anything in the Constitution that says presidents can issue executive orders. As I think we all know, the delegates to the Constitutional Convention believed that they could create a system of checks and balances to keep presidents from gaining too much power and then abusing it. I cannot go through all of them now, but it is important to note here that the delegates to the convention did not count on the emergence of political parties. In fact, they were against them, which would mean, unfortunately, that a president's party in Congress is very unlikely to push back against a president, no matter what he or she does. A prime example is the failure of impeachment to curb presidential abuses of power. Not anticipating the problem of party loyalty, convention delegate James Madison, who was also the principal architect of the Constitution, wrote somewhat breezily, "The President of the United States is impeachable at any time during his continuance in office. And if impeached and convicted by the Senate," Alexander Hamilton added, "the President would, quote, be afterwards liable to prosecution and punishment in the course of ordinary law. Like any other citizen," Hamilton added, "the President is not above the law." Of course, as referenced above about political parties, members of a president's party in the House of Representatives are extremely unlikely to impeach, while members of the president's party in the Senate are even more unlikely to convict the president in this two-step process of removal. Hamilton also wrote that a presidency needed to be held by men who were, quote, preeminent for ability and virtue. Washington, who presided over the Constitutional Convention, he sat in that big chair if you've ever been down there, likewise concluded that the country needed virtuous men at the helm, whom he described as the wise and the good. At that time, virtue was understood to mean putting the public welfare against one's own selfish interests. The delegates also believed that presidents should be persons of honesty and integrity, who respected the rule of law. Of course, there is little that can be done to enforce such expectations short of impeachment, which, as I have noted, has proven all but impossible. Of course, voters can turn a president out of office at the ballot box when attempting to win a second term, but that scenario might mean a long and dangerous wait. It could mean 4 or 3 or 2 or 1 year. Parliamentary systems are far more flexible in this regard. That is, the majority party that picked the prime minister can kick the person out and bring somebody else in, or they can call for new elections, and they did that in the UK fairly recently. The reasons they didn't adopt a parliamentary system back then is because even the British Parliament wasn't fully evolved, and they thought it was corrupt, and they weren't going to imitate it. And again, they seem to be groping in the dark. No one's ever done what they've done before. They don't have any models. Equally important is the fact that any president automatically becomes the best-known figure in the national government, as well as in the entire country and later in the entire world. Indeed, while most citizens can name the president, many do not know and cannot remember the name of their own member of Congress, a situation that would have shocked the delegates to the Constitutional Convention. They thought people would be more closely aligned to their congressperson, the local person, not to the President of the United States. Thus, the Congress, which was given serious responsibility for checking abuses of executive power, has suffered great disadvantages in vying with presidents for publicity, what Theodore Roosevelt liked to call the bully pulpit. He liked to say bully all the time. Such a situation would become especially evident in a future age of photography, followed by moving pictures and television, and most recently by social media, none of which the delegates to the Constitutional Convention 238 years ago this summer could have fathomed, the dummies. Such a visual media can and often has surrounded presidents with an aura of celebrity, and I have a whole chapter in my book about presidential celebrity, that can contribute to dangerous cults of personality. And I'm going to talk about some examples of presidential abuses of power over time. And you can see it's going to be on both sides of the partisan divide. In the 1830s, Andrew Jackson defied a Supreme Court decision and sent some 4,000 Native Americans, including women and children, to their deaths along the Trail of Tears. Jackson's defiance of the Supreme Court reminds us that even the highest court in the land cannot enforce its own orders and decisions, since enforcement is the responsibility of the executive branch as headed by the President of the United States. The courts have to call upon the executive branch to enforce their orders, and a president does not have to obey the Supreme Court. There's nothing that can be done to force a president to obey a Supreme Court order. The only remedy would be impeachment, and we've already talked about that's not likely to occur. There are some who wanted to impeach Jackson for doing things like this, but he clearly had too many members of his party in Congress. Later, Jackson destroyed the Second Bank of the United States, and the Second Bank building is still down on Chestnut Street, with an executive order to withdraw all federal funds from what was then the nation's central bank. The result was a devastating economic depression, and the United States would not have a central bank again for another 87 years until the establishment of the Federal Reserve. And there were a number of depressions because there was no way of controlling the money supply and so forth. So one person destroys the Second Bank of the United States through an executive order. You need to take a sip of water. A generation later, Abraham Lincoln, during the Civil War, placed various parts of the northern states, not the southern states, under martial law and had civilians arrested by the military and imprisoned without trial, that is, without due process of law. One can perhaps excuse these orders in the name of saving the Union, but future presidents might abuse such powers when no emergencies exist. In the early 1900s, Theodore Roosevelt ordered the Army to seize the anthracite coal mines in Pennsylvania during a miners' strike. That's just not too far from us, even though his Attorney General warned him that such an act would be unconstitutional. In the end, the strike was settled and Teddy didn't have to seize the mines, but he probably would have done so had the strike continued. Then during World War II, Theodore's distant cousin Franklin Roosevelt issued an executive order interning some 117,000 Japanese Americans living on the West Coast without due process of law, even though some 2/3 of them were born in the United States and therefore enjoyed birthright citizenship. And even though there was not a scintilla of evidence that any Japanese Americans had been disloyal or had aided the Japanese enemy in any way. There are other examples of presidential abuses of executive orders, but time doesn't allow me to consider them. Then there are the war-making powers, which the delegates to the Constitutional Convention insisted on reserving exclusively to Congress, but which early on were co-opted by presidents and abused to drag the country into unnecessary wars, often by deception and sometimes through outright lies. Such presidents include James K. Polk with the Mexican-American War. I can't go into all the details here, but he said we were attacked by Mexico and we weren't. William McKinley with the Spanish-American War, and especially with the associated brutal contest of the Philippines. Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, and Nixon with the Vietnam War, and George W. Bush with the Iraq War. For better or worse, most citizens, as well as Congress and the media, have given belief initially that when the presidents say we must go to war, it's true, for fear of being labeled unpatriotic or worse. Please keep in mind that Congress has not declared war since December 1941. Since December 1941, over 80 years ago, and yet the country has fought numerous wars since that time. Contributing to presidential authority has also been at times an aura of what one might call divine right presidency, an echo of the divine right monarchy in Europe and elsewhere in the past. For instance, Washington's death at home down in Mount Vernon in December 1799 touched off days of deep mourning throughout the country, with many tributes describing the man as godlike. Thus, Euless compared Washington to Jesus. Like Christ, he had been predestined by God to become a savior, in this case of his country, and by honoring Washington, one also honored his creator in heaven. Widely distributed lithographs, that is, colored prints, depicted Washington being carried into the other world, dressed in biblical or the classical garb of gods. These images invariably carried the title Apotheosis of Washington, a term meaning elevation to divine status. Most impressive of all is the apotheosis inside the U.S. Capitol dome, a large fresco in the interior eye of the dome, painted in 1865 and showing an ascendant Washington in glory. Washington himself, who was known as a deist, would have been appalled by such imagery, and John Adams condemned this deification in Washington as a shameful blasphemy. Over a century later, President-elect Woodrow Wilson, who liked to see himself as a man of destiny, declared to his campaign chairman following his victory in 1912, and I quote, "God ordained that I should be the next president of the United States. Neither you nor any other mortal could have prevented that." All right? In our own time, at the second inauguration of Donald Trump, the Reverend Franklin Graham, in his prayer of invocation at the event, compared Trump to Moses, who had delivered the Jewish people out of Egypt back to their promised land of Israel. Accordingly, God had saved Trump's life when he'd been nearly assassinated during the campaign, and I'm quoting Graham, and raised him up with strength and power by his mighty hand, unquote. Fortunately, most individuals serving as President of the United States have largely observed norms of behavior expected for someone in high public office. In addition, most presidents have largely respected the boundaries of executive power. Furthermore, many of them have used their influence and authority to bring about laudatory results. For instance, it was partly or largely because of presidential initiative that 4 million enslaved Americans received their freedom, that Americans achieved civil rights in many areas of life, that the American people, in collaboration with their allies, liberated the world from fascist tyranny, and that the United States has achieved unparalleled prosperity. Through the leadership of some presidents, the nation has promoted conservation and preservation of the natural environment, along with much else. However, I'll end with a note of caution from the ever-wise Benjamin Franklin, who served as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention back in 1787. When Mrs. Powell of Philadelphia recognized Franklin at the end of the convention, she asked, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" To which Franklin answered, "A republic if you can keep it. A republic if you can keep it." And he's saying this in 1787 at the end of the Constitutional Convention. Franklin might have added that keeping a republic depends on having a well-informed citizenry. The past is indeed prologue. Thank you very much.
Right. Past it. Ma'am.
Thank you very much. As we begin our academic recognitions, please note the names that appear in the program today are those that we received by the program printing date. To start our academic honors portion of the afternoon, I now invite Dr. Jennifer Wade, Assistant Professor of Psychology, to the podium to announce our departmental honor students.
Hi, everyone. The following seniors have completed the Departmental Honors Program in the 2024 to 2025 academic year in their respective majors. The Departmental Honor Program is designed to offer excellent students an opportunity to work independently in their major discipline under the direction of a faculty director to complete a research project of their choosing. Traditionally, research culminates in an honors thesis submitted in April or May of the student's senior year, although this deadline may change if the student is graduating in December. These students who successfully complete the program graduate with honors in their major, acknowledged on their Chestnut Hill College transcript. Eligibility is determined by mastery of the major field and by general ability. To be eligible, a student must have declared a major, have achieved a grade point average of 3.6 or higher in the major, and an overall grade point average of 3.5 or higher, and completed 60 semester hours towards his, her, or their degree, 12 of which must be credits in the major. In addition, the student must have the recommendation of the faculty in the major department. When your name is read, please stand and remain standing until honorees have been recognized. I'll ask that people hold applause until the end. Jamie Arola in business. James Bartley in business. Simon Bonfant in media and communication. Marcelo Bozone in business. Bo Cox in business. Rudolph Del Pret in psychology. June Dodson in English literature. Kaylee Edwards in business, Lillian Frias Bueno in education, Amaris Guzman in business, Allison Isaac in health sciences. Sorry for the pause. Mackenzie McCarty in forensic biology, Romy Mirovich in business, Fong Now in psychology, Nicholas Novakovic in mathematics, Bianca Orozco in psychology, Tina Pham in English literature and writing, Menno Raymakers in business, Summer Reagan in early education, dual pre-K through 4 in special education, Andrew sorry for the mispronunciation, Andrew Sarowinski in business, Hope Scott in chemistry, Colby Sillig in marketing, Kristen Sani in both forensic chemistry and forensic biology, Arnaud Van Acton in business, Brian Wall in digital forensics, and Anastasia Watson in chemistry. Please join me in congratulating these seniors who have graduated with departmental honors. Next, I welcome Dr. Mia Grogan, Associate Professor of English, to the podium.
Yeah.
Hi. The Interdisciplinary Honors Program at Chestnut Hill College provides highly motivated students a broad, unifying, and challenging introduction to the liberal arts through interdisciplinary seminars and aims to integrate knowledge from different disciplines. So I'm going to call the names of our seniors who are graduating from IDHP this year. We're a small but mighty group. A couple of them can't be here today, but we want to acknowledge everyone. So when I call your name, please stand. Santina Arena, Simon Bonifant, Ryan Brownback, Summer Reagan, Emma Sasick, Charlene Watkins. Please join me in congratulating these Chestnut Hill College seniors who have completed the requirements for IDHP. Dr. Rebecca Eike, Associate Professor of Chemistry, will introduce the first of our special award recipients.
Look at it.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to announce the recipients of the Chemistry Award for first-year students. Each year, the Chemistry Department recognizes a student or more than one student who has shown superior achievement in their first-year chemistry studies. This year, we have 3 students who earned this honor. And when I say your name, if you don't mind coming to the front of the room, I have a certificate for you. The 3 recipients of this year's awards are Michael Wilkinson, Devin Warner, and Katrina Poles.
Empty. Like it.
Right. Thank you. Well done on you 3. I'd like to welcome to the podium Bryce Nixon, Assistant Professor of Media and Communication.
Hi. Okay, so I'm here to present the Marianne Walsh Award in Communication. This award is given to one graduating senior from the Media and Communication program at Chestnut Hill College. The recipient must have at least a 3.0 or higher GPA, have completed a communication internship, and most importantly, I think, truly exemplify the mission and live out the core values of the institution. A little bit of background on the award. Marianne Walsh earned a bachelor's degree in Communications and Technology from Chestnut Hill College in 1998 and a master's degree in Leadership and Applied Technology from the School of Graduate Studies in 2002. She currently serves as a member of the board of directors of the college. Marianne credits her career success to her education at CHC. In sponsoring this award to a media and communication senior, Marianne hopes to inspire the next generation of Chestnut Hill graduates. As the chair of the Media and Communication program, I am pleased to present this award to a truly deserving student, Simon Bonifant. And I'm going to say a few words. And come around and say, is that good? Oh, that's the left. Okay, good. Simon is well known around the college. He's an exceptional student, but he's also a musician, an advocate for accessibility, and perhaps above all, someone who has spent his time here pursuing the personal growth that a transformative, holistic education offers. I've had the pleasure of having Simon in many media and communication courses in which he developed an incisive critical analysis of digital media culture. As a student journalist, he developed a professional level ability to conduct interviews and discussions about a range of topics. Last year, in a year-long honors seminar on media and meaning, Simon eagerly and thoughtfully took on the challenge Professor Patrick McCauley and I posed to students, which was, how do you determine what your life means? How do you learn how to live, as it says on the wall around the corner? It is clear to me that Simon has a bright future ahead of him. He has taken everything he could from Chestnut Hill College, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Please congratulate this year's Marianne Walsh Award recipient, Simon Bonifant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're right here, side.
I now invite Dr. Barbara Longquist, Professor of English, to the podium.
A number of years back, a benefactor had funded an award for a graduating senior in the English department who demonstrates excellence in literary studies and commitment to the department. This student must have a GPA of at least 3.5, and this student has double majored in English and secondary education, and she has served as a leader on campus and within the English department as an inspiring presence to all of our majors. In the fall, she will add her name to the proud tradition of great English teachers that have gone out from Chestnut Hill College over the past 100 years. I am happy to present a certificate and monetary gift and a little book slid underneath it to June Dodson. I said at our little honors induction about a week or so ago, I hadn't seen anybody write like June in the last 20 years, and it was just music to my eyes. Did you get that, Simon? Okay. Okay. Congratulations. We now welcome Rosaline Emmanuel Fresnel, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students, to the podium. Let me turn the page.
Okay.
Hello. I'm here to award the Dorothy E. Fenton Memorial Medal. The Dorothy E. Fenton Memorial Medal was first presented at the Honors Convocation in 1929. It was established by the college's first graduating class, the class of 1928, in honor of their classmate Dorothy Fenton, who had died a week before their graduation. The award is given in recognition of these ideals: eager pursuit of all that pertains to the higher life of the spirit and gracious courtesy in the encounters. The medal represents Dorothy's legacy of joy, sincerity, loyalty, and tremendous interest in adventure of life. The medal bears the inscription, "The fruit of the Spirit is charity." Seniors are nominated for this award by faculty, staff, and students, and the recipient is chosen by the Honors Committee, an almost impossible task given that we are blessed by many young people who live this ideal. And so, we honor this year's nominees. Please stand as I call your name. Simon Bonifant. Myron Brooks. June Dotson. Emily Dugan. Gladiolus Hernandez. Lauren Lois. Zoom Nguyen. McKinney Thornhill. Congratulations. Please be seated. Selecting this year's Dorothy Fenton Medal winner proved to be an impossible task for the Honors Committee. And so today, we are fortunate enough to honor two students who truly embody the spirit of Dorothy Fenton. Both winners are known for their kindness, eager pursuit of the holistic education, friendliness, and a care for all they encountered. Our first Dorothy Fenton recipient transferred to CHC and quickly became part of our community. As one nominator wrote, "It felt like they had always been here." Nominators frequently use words like smile, creativity, compassion, caring, and helpful to describe the student. As a future educator, this student is a perfect example of a transformative holistic education at work, as they not only excel in English literature, but also in math, frequently tutoring students in the Math Center. Beyond academics, they also help students as a resident assistant and as a member of both the Sewing Club and the Literary Society, two beautiful communities that connect students who might otherwise not know each other. In her own words, "If we want to exercise the value of kindness, sincerity, loyalty, and appreciating beauty, it starts with our own connection to other people." Taking a step further, when we build relationship with members of our community, especially with those in need of comfort and compassion, it becomes excruciatingly painful to be apathetic. Please join me in congratulating June Dotson. Our second Dorothy Fenton recipient has been sharing their gifts and talents with the CHC community for the last 4 years. It is amazing that this student had the time to shine so brightly academically when you begin to list all the things they are involved with, both on and off campus. One nominator wrote, "They embody the characteristic of a genuinely other-centered person. Their interest and care for others are apparent through their outreach, strength, and kindness to everyone they meet." As a first-year student, they were recognized with the First Year Involvement Award to the Annual Leadership Awards, and it is truly a full circle that they are also recognized today with the Dorothy Fenton Medal. Many people on campus know this student for their beautiful voice that they share with our community as members of the Hill Singers. Reflecting on their own musical talent, this student wrote, "One of the ways that I serve others and celebrate the beauty of life is through music. God blessed me with the talent to be a singer, as well as the courage to perform in front of a crowd undeterred by fear or apprehension. At the heart of everything this student does is a commitment to inclusivity for all, and this most clearly exemplified through their vast amount of work with the accessibility cohort of Greater Philadelphia, the Audio Description Learning Network, Philly Touch Tour, and Acting Without Boundaries, to just name a few. This work allowed members of the blind and visually impaired community to access theater, museums, and other cultural experience in and around Philadelphia. truly transforming access to the art. Please join me in congratulating Simon Bunquet.
Thank you so much.
Here, hold on. Come on, this way. Take a picture. I'll hold it. Hey, look. Thank you. And now I bring back Dr. Brian McCloskey.
Thank you, Roz. Congratulations to the winners thus far. It's a very exciting day, and I'm happy to be here. The St. Catherine Award Medal of the Kappa Gamma Pi Honor Society is awarded to a sophomore or junior who represents the high ideals of a Catholic education. The recipient is selected on the basis of their leadership and their service. Nomination for this medal is an honor in itself. In the spirit of Kappa Gamma Pi, those nominated are selected not only for what they have already accomplished, but also because we are confident that they will continue to exemplify the high ideals of the Catholic education expressed in their leadership and their service. So please hold your applause as I read off this year's nominees. When I read off your name, please stand. Saleha Brown, Elizabeth Fidgel, Jasmine Gadsden, Mary Golbiva, and Ashley Martinez. I hope I said all your names properly. I apologize if I didn't. Please have a seat. This year's winner of the St. Catherine Medal truly embodies a commitment to leadership and service that are grounded in an active, inclusive love for all dear neighbors without distinction. They are seen at almost every event on campus, either taking an active role or encouraging other students to get involved. When they arrived on campus as a first-generation student, they thought they would just go to class and that was it. But rather quickly, they realized they had found a community that filled their cup and to which they wanted to give back. Academically, this student has woven together their passion for immigration rights and restorative justice with a curiosity about human behavior. Their list of accolades and activities is long, but can be summed up perfectly by the words of one nominator. She is, without question, one of my favorite students, not just in my time at CHC, but in my 25 years as a college educator. I admire the way she challenges herself by taking coursework that she finds difficult but rewarding. She excels at her law and political science coursework, but she has chosen to double major in psychology, even though she sometimes struggles with the work. She values the insights into human behavior and dynamics that her psychology courses contribute to her legal analysis. She is driven not just by a love of learning, though she clearly has that, but by her commitments to justice through advocacy and social action. She demonstrates servant leadership on a regular basis, not only by mentoring both OMC students and Tishner Greer students, but also by providing informal advice, guidance, and support to almost everyone she encounters. She leads by example when she speaks up in public spaces to provide crucial representation for immigrant and minority experiences. She's also adept at holding space for other voices that might otherwise be drowned out. This student truly exemplifies the values of the St. Catherine Award and is a worthy recipient of the medal. Please join me in congratulating Ashley Martinez. I'd now like to welcome back Dr. Andra Basu.
All right, in closing today, I would like to express my appreciation to everyone who made this event possible, including facilities and housekeeping departments, dining services, and Sue Harkins, and many others. Really appreciate it. At this time, it is my pleasure to invite everyone to a reception in the rotunda following our ceremony. Now, please stand for the benediction that will be offered by Emily Dugan. Emily?
May God, who began this great work in us, carry it through to completion, enabling us to use our talents to the fullest. May God give us this grace to make wise choices and to be faithful to our commitments, always confident in the support of those who love us. May God bless us with discomfort, and easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that we will live deeply within our hearts. May God bless us with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so that we will work for justice, equality, and peace. May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war, so that we will reach out our hands to comfort them and change their pain to joy. May God bless us with the foolishness to think that we can make a difference in this world, so that we will do all the things which others tell us that cannot be done. May our integrity be a gift to the world, and may the Spirit of God be with us always. In our holy name we pray, amen.
Reception in the rotunda. One more round of applause for all the medal recipients and awards.